It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. He is Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley. As we begin Talktober. Gary, how are you?
I like that. You need to have a deeper voice, so. Talktober.
Yeah.
Talktober.
Yeah.
And that's an offshoot of Rocktober that radio stations in the 70s and 80s did all the time, especially the 70s, I remember.
Right, because they didn't play rock any other month except October.
Rocktober. Hey, look, before we go anywhere else, you were telling me this story, and I didn't know the figures of it, and I thought you were not telling me the truth. I thought it was, I said, you give me the Babylon Bee headlines here, and once you told me the entire story, I went, okay, I understand it now, but really amazing. I guess you would call it an acquisition or a merger or a deal?
Yeah, it's more of an acquisition. This is something that was tried over 20 years ago, and they didn't get the go-ahead, but now...
This is unbelievable.
It's DirecTV, for those that haven't heard, is buying Dish Network for $1 plus their debt. $1. That's the deal. And it was funny because I went out to my truck looking to see if I had some quarters in my in my console. And I'm like, I'll give them $2. I'll give them $2.
Well, I don't know if you want, with the way people are now watching TV, I don't know if you'd want to spend that $1 and acquire how much debt?
$9.75 billion in debt. That's the debt. That's the price. That's what they're paying for. That's what they're paying for. $9.75 billion.
They might have been better off getting in the legal pot business.
Yeah. If your debt is 9.75, well, in today's age, with everybody cutting the cord, 9.75 billion in debt. Obviously, leadership at Dish Network knew that, yeah, we could never overcome that debt. There's no way around that. We can't, there's just not going to be an answer for us. And this is what happens. You and I have talked about mergers for so long. But you have companies, basically, two of them can't, by the time you get to a certain thing, and now we're at a certain point with cutting the cord, where you really don't have room for those two major players. The same thing happened with satellite radio years ago, and now you've got this situation happening with the two major players in satellite TV. One of the emerging things now is Starlink from SpaceX and their service and everything else that they're providing, but that goes far beyond just entertainment. That is, they're getting really rave reviews on their internet service and everything. So it's a very different kind of business that is set up. And the business model for satellite TV, I mean, it's weird to think about. I haven't had cable in years. It goes back to 2017, I think. And it was, at first, it was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And now YouTube has kind of come along. It's what's interesting. YouTube is catching up, realizing, or maybe it's just coincidence, that the content on YouTube is now populated by news organizations. So if you need, if you want to see a story, you can proactively go to their channel, watch the story, or they'll stream live certain things. I don't have, because you and I think, are both alike on this. I don't sit around watching, I never have, cable news, with the exception of, the first Gulf War, because that's the only thing. Let's go home and watch the war. I remember my one time a colleague saying that to me. And, on CNN, mainly back then. And then, of course, 9/11. Because the internet, think about 9/11, 2001. We really hadn't gotten to the point. We didn't have smartphones. We didn't have it in our hand. You had to get up and go over. You either had to grab a laptop or go over to a desktop. And that seems like being tethered. You know what I mean? If you can't get it on a smartphone these days, it's like, oh my gosh, you had to go somewhere and sit down and be in that place and couldn't take it with you, with the exception of a laptop, which was still a bit cumbersome. But we would watch, all of the developments there. Now, in today's world, the news is basically pushed to you. And so in what we do, I collect everything that comes across. I'd say 99% of it is going to end up on my phone. And a large chunk of that I'm only going to get from my phone. So I don't have a reason to pay for television.
I've been off for 3 years, and it just was like I wasn't watching anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have like the top tier plan.
Right.
And I was still $140 a month.
Right.
And it was like, and
yeah.
Can I afford it? Yeah. But do I want to pay for something? Because I'll never change. I'll never. Somebody on Twitter wrote a real nice thing about my dad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's like, that's the dad in me. I mean, that's when I was younger, it's like, I never want to be like my parents.
Mm.
And now I end up exactly like them.
Yeah. Right.
I talked about mom last week and the edging of the lawn. And dad, when it comes to, return on investment of every dollar.
Mm-hmm.
Well, just the return on investment wasn't there. Well, when it was around 2 years ago, 3 years ago I went off, then 2 years ago I got my new smart TV.
Right.
When you live in Dallas, there are so many TV stations over the air that in itself is amazing. And then I got an LG TV, so they have all the LG channels.
Mm-hmm.
And right there, I probably have 200 channels. And then you've got Prime, and I pay for the shipping. That's even if they didn't have, everything else.
Yeah,
they've got the shipping. Most of the commercial interruptions are pretty minor when I watch a movie.
Right,
a lot of them say, okay, you're going to watch this at the beginning, and the rest will be commercial free. But I'm so used to watching commercials, it doesn't matter. And then you've got Redbox, Tubi, what's the other, Pluto. You've got
Freevee,
all of these free channels. I get the Hulu Basic because of my cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to watch, if you sit there and go, there's a bunch of movies, you can get Max for 1 month.
Yeah.
You can. It's really become what I always wanted, which was, in a way, it's most stuff free, a la carte on the rest. Now I do miss some sports, but I really don't. I really don't care. I couldn't watch. It was the first 2 rounds of the President's Cup in golf.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know where it was this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
The last 2 were on network TV, and I'm like, well, that's an exciting thing, and a ton of people can't watch it because they don't have access to it. And that's one of the things when you look at it. Maybe the NFL can get away with it. I don't know how many other sports can get away with saying, okay, let's make sure we have a lot less people watching, this particular, tournament or whatever. One of the things the WNBA did, which was probably a great thing with Caitlin Clark out there, they were on Ion TV, which is, antenna. You can get that anywhere, and you can get it on half the streaming channels, so you could actually watch her for nothing. Well, if you want exposure, remember, most sports are not the NFL.
Right.
They can get away with doing all this stuff. It's like my thing is, wait a minute, I can get on a place when people can find me and watch my sport, and it's extremely, because of that person coming into the league, because that's how you view it as marketing. All the politics of it, you don't care about.
Right.
Is she bringing numbers in? That's all that matters. She's bringing numbers in. Boom. We've got a place to cover it. So, and then, but a lot of sports, if you want to watch it, like hockey, I'll still watch. You can, get ESPN for 2 or 3 months. Right. You get it for 1 month. Is my team good? Then it's like $7-8, whatever. And then you sit there and you say, okay, but I know I'm getting exactly what I want. and people are just catching on. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know how DirecTV absorbs that kind of debt.
Yeah, that would be my question is, all right, Direct has always had I think, a better marketing plan, just anecdotally, but ultimately, long term, $10 billion in debt for a satellite TV provider. You're walking in with that. Now, you're getting a customer base, but you're getting a customer base that's diminishing. And so, I mean, ultimately, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but ultimately more and more people, because it is generational. My mom and dad, my dad still has one of them. I don't know if it's DirecTV or Dish, but now he has the one after the merger. And he still watches, he'll still watch channels, but he's been on YouTube lately. It's funny because I go to the house and he goes, "Hey, I'm watching this. I'm following this one channel." It's like, I follow the same channel. And so it's not like it was, but Dad loves watching things like he'll put NASCAR on the weekend just to have it on in the background while he's kind of doing other things around the living room. He's in his 90s, so he's not exceptionally mobile, but still doing things around the house. My mom and Dad both watch Fox News. They'll watch in the evening. They'll watch Brett Baer. And then Mom will go into the other room and watch all the primetime stuff. And Dad will watch. It depends if there's a cop show on. My dad being a retired military cop, he'll watch a cop show. He's got a number of things that they'll watch. But that's really the game right now, is a generational situation where the younger generation, they're looking at it going, "Are you kidding me? Why would I be?" Because a lot of people are watching their content on their smartphone. I do that occasionally. I'll do that with YouTube occasionally if I'm on the go. But I, typically I want to, at least a 32-inch TV, which we have in like the office in our house or in our RV or whatever. It is not important to young people, and they don't even care about. I was talking to one of my daughters the other day. Owning a car anymore is not a priority. There are things that are, completely generational, and they see it as if they're in a metro area, I'll either lease a car or on a larger scale, I'll get, I'll call Uber. I'll use public transportation, whatever that might be. It's a totally different mindset. They don't want to pay for things that aren't of value. I heard, in fact, someone in her age group say, "Why would I pay hundreds of dollars a month for a car payment, hundreds of dollars a month for the insurance on it, for it to sit in front of my house most of the time?" And I thought to myself, I don't know, freedom. But the ability to go somewhere. But they don't see it that way. They don't look at it the same way if they're living in major metro areas. If they're in small towns and rural areas, that may be very different. They don't want to pay for things that aren't of value. They don't see any reason in paying for any of that. And this is the problem that the streamers are having right now, is that people jump on, they'll watch something, they'll watch it for a month, and then they jump off and jump onto another streamer. You can't really, and you don't want to lock them into a 1-year deal. They won't buy, even with the discount, they won't buy a 1-year subscription. And it's just not of value to people.
I don't think I'd be surprised if in the next year, after the deal is official and a year goes by, that DirecTV files bankruptcy.
I will say this: they're going to have a hard time making up that $10 billion in debt, and I don't know what they have planned out, down the pike, what they're going to do for offerings and everything else. Internet offerings and everything else, are part of it, but I just don't know what you do to expand your revenue stream. I really don't.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll wait on that prediction until I can find out what their business model is.
Yeah. Well, certainly it's better than what Dish Networks was.
Hey, we got a great show ahead. 866-90 Red Eye.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. As the seasons change, so does truck maintenance. Cold weather can affect everything from your batteries and air brake system to tire inflation and fuel lines. Here's a maintenance tip to help make sure your rig is ready when winter comes knocking. When temperatures fall, the paraffin wax in diesel fuel can thicken so much it clogs fuel filters or solidifies to the point where it will no longer flow. Invest in a new fuel filter now and consider adding a winter fuel additive to your maintenance routine to help prevent fuel gelling. To learn more about winterizing your truck, find a professional technician today and ask about their fuel additives and fuel filters.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up on the show today, a preview of the vice presidential debate and what Republicans believe they're going to get from Walz. We'll have that because that's really, really interesting. Israel initiates a limited ground war against Hezbollah. That coming up. I will tell you this. The thing, every single day, Eric, every single day of this campaign, in some way, I'm shocked. And before I went to sleep, my nap before I come into work, I was shaking my head. I said, you know, you would think over the last 36 hours, if you didn't know who was president of the United States, you would think it was Trump.
Yeah.
I mean, the coverage of
He's everywhere.
The coverage of Trump covering the destruction and comforting the victims of Hurricane Helene were just, I was watching it. There he is. He's talking to emergency officials, government officials, everything else.
Right.
And I'm watching it going, oh, yeah, well, Trump got there quick. Oh, wait a minute. He's not even the damn president.
Right.
Oh, my God. I was like, whoa.
Right.
And
Yeah.
meanwhile, you've got, Biden, they're screaming at him, going, why weren't you back at the White House? Why were you at the beach?
Yeah.
Harris, she's getting pounded upon, and I'm just like, wow. I mean, forget about the fact that this thing was so devastating that you've got to do something about it.
Right.
Because this thing was not just for Florida, but some of the scenes from North Carolina and even Tennessee, and it's just and Georgia. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
To see something like that. And they're just going through my day and going, wow, Trump's there. He's sure. Just normal news,
Right.
Normal stuff I do, the stuff I scan like everybody else on the internet, and Trump's everywhere. And then it's like, oh, wait a minute. He's not president.
Yeah. Yeah. The pictures coming out of North Carolina, a lot of the pictures yesterday coming out of Chimney Rock, and this is a town that was just totally devastated. Basically, the locals were saying it was just, all of it was just washed into the lake. And it's a beautiful scenic area. They filmed movies there. It is, it's something where you look at it and it's devastating. And we talked about this, the flooding is always the most dangerous part of a hurricane, but it's also the most damaging quite often because water damage just will, it will kill businesses. It will kill, well, in this case, an entire town has to rebuild, or are they going to rebuild? They have to answer that question. It's just devastating.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio. from the Uniden America Studios.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Even CNN recognized it, Eric, yesterday. This is, and the headline is Trump speaks from South Georgia in Helene's aftermath. And this is CNN, some of the analysis going back. And here's the host, the national correspondent, Kristen Holmes from CNN.
He is being treated not just as a former president, but almost as though he is a sitting president. As Boris, you just noted, getting a briefing from FEMA, getting a briefing from the National Guard. That is not something that is typically just offered to a candidate. They are treating him as though he is a former president who is there to help. And one thing that I had noticed earlier during our 1 p.m. conversation was that Donald Trump did not have that much to offer in terms of resources since he is not a sitting president. But I will note that he and the campaign say that they have arrived in that area with trucks full of supplies that they plan on giving out. So there is something there for them to offer. He also said that he had a tanker truck full of gasoline, which obviously, if you've ever covered one of these storms, you understand that one of the first things and hardest things to come by is gasoline. So he said that he was going to be giving that out. He is clearly taking this seriously as a politician is on the ground, trying to show that he is there in support of the people on the ground. And
there it is. That's CNN.
Yeah. I mean, that sounded like something from Fox News.
I know. And the other thing is I heard he started a GoFundMe. That Trump started the GoFundMe also.
Yeah.
I mean, I just, you look at the Harris campaign, they have no political instincts at all.
It's
zero political instincts.
I really don't get it. I don't know that they understand what they're trying to accomplish. I really don't. Is that the result of getting to where she is by not having to actually earn a vote? What have we always said? When you have to earn something and pay for it, you yourself put a greater value in it.
Well, my great story. Well, I mean, it's not a kids don't do this, but I talked about a few times when the last time I cheated in school.
Mm-hmm.
I remember on the physics test as a senior, I cheated. I had the cheat sheet between my legs. The teacher said, I know you cheated. You got this grade, but I know you cheated, and you know you cheated. Now, I did feel shame and didn't cheat again, but then the next year, when I was paying for my college, there was no cheating anymore when I was paying for it. I wanted to learn. All of a sudden, there was a product that I was buying, and I wanted to make sure that I got the product. It shows you the difference when you have to earn something versus even an education being given to you.
Well, yeah, I saw something that came up on it was just the thumbnail. I didn't even click on it, but a YouTube video, and it says, here are the cheats for whatever game. It was from a gamer. And I was like, okay, what are you trying to, I understand that when you're a little kid, you're learning things, and so you take those little cheats, but these are adult gamers. Here are all the cheats. And I'm like, is that really how you're supposed to do it?
No, but you make a point. You make a point when it's given to you when you haven't earned it.
Do you actually understand what it is?
Right.
I mean, all the way through, you have to know what you have to understand what it requires to get there. In this case, when we're talking about putting in the work to earn something, and it's not just something. She's not applying for a job at a business. She's applying to be president. And right now, she's the vice president. And I really don't believe she understands at all any of it. I honestly believe she has zero understanding of any of it. It has been, I believe, from day one. Hey, Biden's on the phone. He wants you on the ticket. I mean, she got out. She dropped out of the race December 3rd, 2019. She wasn't earning anything. In fact, her campaign was struggling because people on the inside didn't want to work for her. And I suspect, to a large extent, that was because they didn't believe in her. That's how it works. There was no money. The campaign was in total disorganization, in shambles, and she had to quit. Next thing you know, she gets a call. It's Biden. He wants you on the ticket. I honestly believe it's almost, well, maybe literally, in fact, at some point, she's ushered into the room. You say these things, and then you leave. I don't think she understands what the hell the job is. I don't think she understands how you get the job. And think of Trump. Now, here's the juxtaposition. He's had everything thrown at him. Look at all the stuff thrown at him. If there's anybody who understands how much work, how much effort, how much sacrifice it takes to become president, it's Donald Trump. Whether you like the guy or not, this guy hasn't flinched in all of this.
And he actually has learned the political game without, being in politics, except for president. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. In fact, it was funny because somebody I know on X was talking about something, and she was upset because she goes, people are calling me, they're saying this is political. And I just wrote back to her. I said, well, everything's political these days.
Yeah.
The government's involved in everything. So
right.
Just because something is political doesn't make it necessarily bad.
Right.
There's good politics and there's bad politics.
Right.
It's not politics is bad. Politics is the business of electing people to represent you. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know if she took it like I was insulting her or whatever, but I think she took the message right. But with Trump, he admits he wasn't ready. Mm-hmm. He's done a couple of interviews. I wasn't ready to be president. I didn't know what I was walking into, never being a politician.
Right.
Well, she's, actually been involved in a primary campaign. She's been involved in politics in California. Now, as we say, you can be involved in politics in California and believe that the bubble of California is the rest of the nation.
Yeah.
And it's not. I mean, look at Newsom yesterday. Gavin Newsom coming out and basically signing the law that no locality can have voter ID.
Right.
Think about that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a 80 to 85% of America disagree with him on that.
Right.
And the only reason he's doing it is because he hopes that fraud will continue in California.
By the way,
there's no other reason to do that, but you can get away with that in California. You can't get away with that on a national level.
And we'll just say this, Senator Warnock in Georgia, we found a Democrat, because remember him saying, I don't even know a Democrat who's against voter ID. Yeah. Hey, you might want to call the governor of California, Senator Warnock, because officially they are. But that's it. And if you think about that blue bubble of California, here's the thing. I don't know that anybody knows. She grew up in a middle-class family. But she came up through the political ranks in a very blue state, which if you're playing that game, California is unlike anything else. I mean, ask Governor Newsom after he debated Governor DeSantis. It didn't go too well. Then we said it wasn't going to when you step outside of that blue bubble. You think you're a rock star until you actually have an opponent who can check you.
But you look at the two different campaigns. So it was J.D. Vance was not my first choice. Mm-hmm. Now, what I failed to do was go back and look at his Senate debates in Ohio against Tim Ryan.
Yeah.
He was superb.
Yeah.
And Trump put somebody in there, and I'm sure they knew it and watched what he was able to do. And he immediately became the point man to go into liberal media enclaves and fight the battle.
Right.
Trump realizing I'm not as good as he is at doing that. I'm good at other things, and people are good at different things. He's the guy to go out there. He can be the pit bull without being a pit bull.
Right.
It's not the same kind. It's not an Adam Schiff kind of pit bull. It's I'm going to destroy you with the substance of my argument each and every day. You can't beat me on this. And Trump did that. She picked Walz, who also can't do any interviews, and he's not out there doing any interviews anywhere.
No, he's not.
And one wonders if she would have picked Josh Shapiro, whether he would have been out there or he would have said, I can't defend what you're doing. I mean, I don't know.
There's the question. Tim Walz has Tim Walz to worry about in his record. And he also has to answer questions for her. So you could get the best Veep pick for her. It's still her ticket. And that's the problem. And I honestly believe that they don't have a full understanding. They honestly believe that they can, that this is like clicking a like button. That it's not even so much a popularity contest. It's a, hey, like my post, this post in this moment kind of deal. I've got one thing that could go viral kind of thing, and that's all I need. I don't know what the hell they're waiting on. I don't know why in the world you would have a campaign. I don't know why the DNC would allow their nominee to be as absent as she has been.
You make a great point there, and I think you're onto something. That's why she wants another debate. Not because she believes she can out-debate Trump on the issues. She's looking for that TikTok, Instagram moment.
Yep. She wants a stinger, and that's it.
But I don't know if that exists right now in the election time, because reality, as we've said, this election is different because all liberal ideas have now been confronted by reality. And we've said it before, that liberalism's biggest problem right now isn't conservatives, it's reality.
Yeah.
And that's the problem that they have. That's why she has, lied about the fact that she has changed on every single major issue of concern to the American public, that she held an opinion 180 degrees different from that.
Right.
Is because she knows that.
Right.
And so what she's looking for is that little, if I can have that moment over Trump. And the liberals believe she did with Trump and thought that was going to get her the bump, and it didn't never happen.
Right. Yeah, that's and remember, she wanted the mics unmuted in that debate so she could have her moment. I'm talking right now. And who actually got that moment? Donald Trump.
Right.
Donald Trump got that moment, even with mics being muted. And she thought she was going to have a pop. They're still telling her she won the debate. But nobody else believes she actually won that debate. Not by a long shot.
866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Coming up on the show, the debate later on today. So that'll be fun, won't it?
Well, it will be for everyone but Tim Walz. It's going. Someone posted a clip. There are so many comparisons, but Chris Farley is the one that really jumps out to me. It always did.
Yes.
But it's not going to be a good night for Tim Walz. If he comes away without it being a horrible night, that will be the equivalent of a good night.
Did you see Jim Gaffigan on SNL doing Walz?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
No.
he was great.
Yeah.
I mean, he was great.
Yeah, he can make that happen. Actually, I can see that. Yeah.
Now Dana Carvey had the eyes perfect.
Dana Carvey's got the Biden down.
He had the,
he's known for the George H.W. Bush thing that he did for years,
and Perot.
and Perot, but really George H.W. Bush, kind of set that tone for him at SNL. But his Biden, I think, is better than all of them.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Just one thing I wanted to say after I saw the story yesterday that the limited ground war against Hezbollah has now been initiated by the Israelis. Mm-hmm. The Israelis are doing exactly what the United States should have been doing consistently since 9/11.
Yeah, sure.
And that's root out the Islamic terrorists, wherever they are.
Yep.
Whose only goal is to destroy the United States and anybody that's funded by Iran. We're at war with.
Yeah.
And what the Israelis is doing is absolutely the right thing. People whose only mission is to destroy Israel and to destroy the United States. And we know the attempt of Islamic radicalism to do that should always feel that they could die as the leaders of these organizations at any time.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it was a mindset that we did have at one point, and then all of a sudden it just went away. It just ended. And you understand that when you go after leadership, it also affects recruiting. When you successfully take out a leader, it affects their recruiting. Recruiting is down. You break the will of other individuals who would join whatever organization it is. But you also send an enemy, or you send a message to the enemy that we are going to be relentless. We will never stop fighting. Once you change your tactic, the moment you close the door and say, we're not going to do this anymore, the biggest message you've given, the biggest effect of that is your enemy knowing you're a sitting duck, knowing they can come after you, that rebuilding the political will to carry out even those targeted missions would be difficult. And now you see it. Now you see the protesters who are pro-Hezbollah, pro-Hamas, right here on American soil. They're out there screaming and promising to be out there the week of October 7th for the 1-year anniversary. And the enemy knows that you're crippled by this politically. You're crippled by this until you get a president who decides you're going to fight.
And two things that sent the exact opposite message that Israel is sending came from the United States. Number one, pulling out of Afghanistan the way that we did. I believe we should have stayed, by the way, kept the air base, kept a small group in there, had the influence that we had in Afghanistan. this thing that, well, a war should only last a particular amount of time.
Yeah.
Is,
right.
I don't know, naive of the American public.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's like saying, well, we should just disband the military today because we're not there's no major war that we're involved in right now. So just
Right.
get rid of the military. When we need it, we'll bring it back again.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's childish. It's damn dangerous in the world that we live in. I didn't think, because I asked the question just like you did. Will we learn our lesson from 9/11? And the answer is absolutely not. We did not learn any lesson from 9/11. We didn't learn it. In fact, the left in this country, the Democrats went in the opposite direction. Complete opposite direction.
Yeah.
And you see it. Three things. Number one, Afghanistan. Number two, after Trump had cut off the oil money to Iran, the first thing Biden did day one was reinstitute that and ensure that now probably over $100 billion of oil revenue has gone to Iran. Last year it was 60 or 70, so it's got to be around at least 100 now. $100 billion went to Iran to fund Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis in Yemen. We know that.
Yeah.
And to send that message and then defend it as they did, well, money isn't fungible. It will only go here. To throw that is almost, my God, I'm thinking, Neville Chamberlain wasn't this bad. But I mean, when you look at it, I'm laughing because it's so bizarre.
Yeah.
Because we are technically at this point helping to fund both sides of the war.
Right.
We're sending arms to Israel and at the same time ensuring that the enemy of Israel, which is the enemy of the United States, and if you don't think so, you're a damn fool. And we're ensuring that Iran has their hundreds of billions of dollars to attack U.S. targets that they've done way over 100 times, as we know, across the Middle East, and to go after Israel.
Well,
and then finally, what we've done at the border,
mm-hmm.
giving all terror. Forget about, there's a lot of different problems with what's going on at the border and the Biden administration and immigration, but just specifically concerning terrorism, to let every major terrorist group know you can get into the United States.
Yep. It's and the push really is to have Israel to stand down, pushing Israel, basically encouraging Israel not to defend itself while we fund Iran.
Well, and if anybody, we talk about the two-state solution. And I forgot, somebody said it just in the last day or so in debate, why are you bringing up the two-state solution? I think it was Bill Maher last week, the two-state solution.
Yeah.
Well, the only goal of Hamas and Hezbollah is the eradication of Israel. They're not saying we want a two-state solution. They want it eradicated. Yep. Israel knows that they want them eradicated, so they're not for the two-state solution that the United States wants, which is Israel can coexist, that Israel can coexist with Hamas and Hezbollah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's insane. I mean, it's just anybody who knows anything about the situation over there. If you're an American right now and you're sitting there going, well, I don't know about Israel, then you don't know what the hell's going on.
Well,
you have no idea what's going on.
Many of the protesters actually have no clue.
No, they didn't. Remember, they interviewed some of them. They were like, "Oh, we're just here because we want to support the right thing." What's the right thing? Well, we don't know.
I mean, think about how motivated you have to be to get up and go out and be part of a massive protest like that that's going to get a lot of attention, and you don't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, I thought it was Kamala out there protesting.
Yeah, no, she's not anywhere actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that would require her to be in front of cameras. There is not, there really isn't a clearer picture. There's nothing else you can do to make it clearer. The situation right now in the Middle East, where we are on the brink, there is a reason that the Ayatollah of Iran is now in hiding under heavy security. I expect Iran to be making moves, more moves, not just through their proxies, in the coming days. I just expect that that's going to happen. And with the ground game that they have in the ground mission that they have on Israel's part, they're gonna wait for that right moment to strike. That's what Iran does. And there's no telling how bad this could get. And you've got a president, you've got an administration right now. You got one guy who has the power to cut Iran off. One man. And he's done the opposite since the beginning of his presidency. He's the lone person in the world that has enough power to cut Iran's funding off and won't do it. All you have to do is convince one guy. But that one guy is arrogant and defiant to the core. On top of that, whatever's going on with him, his brain's not working. And he's in charge of decisions like this until January 20th, which seems like light years away when you think about how dangerous it is.
Yeah, it's I wanted to mention that just, because with the limited ground war, whatever that means, limited ground war. I mean, I don't know. It's not. It's limited in the fact that probably Hezbollah can't fight back because communications is down. There's a problem because communications are down. Their communications are down because they're afraid to have any communications device. They don't know where to probably buy them from. And as we know, anybody who takes a leadership role is a target, and now everybody in Hezbollah knows they're targeting them.
Yep.
They're targeting the leadership. They're targeting you. You don't know. You can't trust anyone right now.
Right.
No one can you trust if you're in Hezbollah. So this is the time to have a ground war. When communications is down and the leadership is gone.
Yeah.
This is when you do it. I mean, it makes... when you look at war strategy, it makes absolute sense that Israel had to do that right now. But I do believe because of everything that's happened, you're going to see just insanity. I hope we don't, but my fear is we'll see just insanity again, just as bad as we saw last year.
I think so,
or earlier this year. Excuse me.
Yeah.
With the protest. But understand the insanity of the Democrats not supporting Israel and actually enabling and supporting the terrorists who want to annihilate the United States.
Right.
That's just, never thought I would ever see that in my lifetime to this.
Well, and it's only a matter of time before the enemy strikes again on American soil.
I remember with Clinton, I would get upset with Clinton because he was just sort of ignoring it.
Yeah.
He knew it was going on. He was just sort of ignored it.
Right.
Or shoot cruise missiles when they left the camp, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it was like, oh, okay, well, that's one thing to ignore it. That's still wrong to do it, as the 9/11 Commission came out and said that they were at war with us and we weren't at war with them.
Right.
That's a stupid strategy to have, but it's another strategy, insane strategy, to say, well, I know they're at war with us. Let's help them.
Yeah. Let's give them the upper
right.
hand.
The last president was hindering them. Let's make sure they have access to tens of billions of dollars to go after our assets.
Right.
Pure insanity.
Right.
But that's the Democratic Party in 2024.
It's no wonder that they have the nominee they have.
But remember, they are saying they're the Patriots.
Uh-huh. Yeah, for which country?
866-90-RED-EYE.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
Owner-operators can save a hefty amount of money by participating in discount fuel networks. If you're leased and your fleet has a fuel optimizer program, use it. Such a program helps plan a trip based on fuel prices and locations in the carrier's fuel network. The larger the carrier, typically the larger the discounts that are possible. Fees for using such networks have become rare thanks to competition for drivers. Owner-operators are well advised, however, to pass up network fuel stops that are too costly, are too far off route, sell inferior fuel, or are dangerously or poorly maintained. For independent owner-operators, a bevy of fuel discount networks exists, from a variety of traditional fuel cards to the National Association of Small Trucking Companies network and the younger mudflap applications discounts at independent truck stops around the nation. Research the options and discounts available to find the right one for you. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more details on this and many other topics.
Brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Just want to quickly play a quick speech, that message that Netanyahu had for the people of Iran yesterday, which is really interesting. But here it is. Okay.
I speak a lot about the leaders of Iran. Yet at this pivotal moment, I want to address you, the people of Iran. I want to do so directly, without filters, without middlemen. Every day, you see a regime that subjugates you make fiery speeches about defending Lebanon, defending Gaza. Yet every day, that regime plunges our region deeper into darkness and deeper into war. Every day, their puppets are eliminated. Ask Muhammad Def. Ask Nasrallah. There is nowhere in the Middle East Israel cannot reach. There's nowhere we will not go to protect our people and protect our country. With every passing moment, the regime is bringing you, the noble Persian people, closer to the abyss. The vast majority of Iranians know their regime doesn't care a whit about them. If it did care, if it cared about you, it would stop wasting billions of dollars on futile wars across the Middle East. It would start improving your lives. Imagine if all the vast money the regime wasted on nuclear weapons and foreign wars were invested in your children's education, in improving your health care, in building your nation's infrastructure, water, sewage, all the other things that you need. Imagine that. But you know one simple thing. Iran's tyrants don't care about your future, but you do. When Iran is finally free, and that moment will come a lot sooner than people think, everything will be different. Our two ancient peoples, the Jewish people and the Persian people, will finally be at peace. Our two countries, Israel and Iran, will be at peace. When that day comes, the terror network that the regime built in 5 continents will be bankrupt, dismantled. Iran will thrive as never before. Global investment, massive tourism, brilliant technological innovation based on the tremendous talents that exist inside Iran. Doesn't that sound better than endless poverty, repression, and war? From Qom to Isfahan, from Shiraz to Tabriz, there are tens of millions of good and decent people with thousands of years of history behind them and a brilliant future ahead of them. Don't let a small group of fanatic theocrats crush your hopes and your dreams. You deserve better. Your children deserve better. The entire world deserves better. I know you don't support the rapists and murderers of Hamas and Hezbollah, but your leaders do. You deserve more. The people of Iran should know Israel stands with you. May we together know a future of prosperity and peace.
Wow. That's one of the most powerful messages you could send. The benefit of the internet, while it may be limited in Iran, people in Iran have it. And here's the thing, too. When's the last time you heard Iranian leadership and their supreme leaders talking that way about the Jewish people? The answer is never.
Never.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. You know, the message that Netanyahu, the direct message he gave to Iran is because he knows that the internet still gets through.
Yeah,
into Iran.
Right.
I know that, and I've told the story before. There's two Iranians that I know, Americans now, both got citizenship. One was an elderly man, and this goes back 20 years ago. He probably isn't alive anymore. I've never really checked, but it was somebody I used to work with, and lived in the area, the Dallas area, and it's when I was a local talk show host. Mm-hmm. All he did was charity work for the community. That's all he did. He did nothing but that, and he came from Iran, and he was completely, totally pro-democracy. And just one of the greatest people I've ever met. I enjoyed being around him so much as he, told stories about, living in Iran, but then again, talked about the United States. And when you come, I can't tell you how many people that came from the former Eastern Bloc, and you can verify this, Eric, who has contacted us over the years and has said, why doesn't America appreciate the freedom that they have?
Right.
Why do they take it for granted? Don't they know, how special it is? And this is where you can make the case that there are many people that come to be legal citizens of the United States that actually understand the Constitution and understand what we have here more than a ton of Americans. That's a sad thing to say, but it is true. But he was number one. The other one was the young woman that I met, and she was a server at a restaurant that I went to all the time, and she also from Iran. Now, she came over, very limited time window for her to come over. Her grandparents are over here, who she never met before. Mm-hmm. She left everything at 18 and came over here. Didn't know a soul. Didn't know anybody.
Right.
And, I remember saying, okay, I got to know her well enough where my mind starts thinking, all right, how do I get into asking her questions? And it's very easy. One day, just sat down and started talking, and I said, so do you like the United States? Hate the United States? So you can tell me. I'm not going to get angry at you. Just want to get an honest answer. She goes, what are you talking about? I came over here from Iran. I love the United States. I came here. Very hard worker. For somebody so young. So she came over. She was 18. Probably 19 is when I met her. And I knew her for a couple of years, and then she moved on, and I haven't, I lost contact with her. Last time I saw her, this had to be over 10 years ago. She was working at a restaurant at DFW at the airport. And it was like, can't you stay? I go, I got to catch a flight. And we just never caught up again. But she's the one that told me, as a young person, we know what's going on because we get the internet. We're able to get through. We get the internet. We get enough. We know what's going on. And I'll never forget, and she had to be at that point, by the time I had the discussion with her, 19 or 20. And I said, well, what's the problem in Iran? And she said, our stupid government and our stupid religion. Whoa.
Yeah.
And she just, and it was, that was a quote from her.
Right.
I've never forgotten that quote. And she just appreciated being in a place, what you find out about so many people that come over here and wish to become legal residents of the United States is the fact that, and I'm talking about whether the number of Russians I've met or people from the Eastern Bloc that have only been over a couple of years. I'll never forget the one taxi driver. This is before Uber. I went to Portland, Oregon. He picked me up. He's working like 3 jobs, working 80, 90 hours a week. The happiest you could ever find a human being, smiling like crazy. I said, you don't mind working? He goes, I can find work in whatever I want to do, and I can make money, and I'm saving my money, and nobody tells me what to do with it. Nobody can tell me what to do. Very simple things that most human beings understand. And I'll never forget talking to the young Iranian girl and Parissa, and she told me, she said, this is where I said, well, what do you want to do? She said, we want to go be able to, she goes, we're young people. We want to be able to dance. We want to be able to swim together. You know, a lot of times, you know, when you're young, it's not the big issues out there. It's the oppression that you get on the things that you wish to do as still basically a child that you realize the government is keeping you from doing, which builds a huge amount of resentment.
Well, and we have seen that, in fact, in other areas in the Middle East, and it is a generational thing because the internet exposes them to, well, wait a minute, I can have this life, I can have these freedoms. And it changes things dramatically. If you think about the time between when we went into Afghanistan and when we left, there were those in Afghanistan, while it still wasn't what we have here in the United States, things had started in big ways started to change. And then when we left, knowing the Taliban was going to take over again, then people understood, those who couldn't leave. The people of Afghanistan understood that they're going to be under that kind of rule again, and their freedoms are gone. One of the things that you heard from, Netanyahu, the common thread that was repeated was his respect for the people of Iran. You may say, well, those were just words. He's just trying to get. Then you don't understand how powerful and meaningful the words between Israel and the rest of the Middle East, especially Iran, actually are. That's not something you just pull out of hey, this could work for me politically or work for me in this way or that way. I'm just going to say it because kind of thing. It's not that approach at all. You haven't heard the supreme leaders of Iran or the presidents of Iran talk that way about the people of Israel. And it shows you the vast difference as to the mindset of Israel as a nation and their enemies in the Middle East that want them gone. What you heard from Netanyahu right there was a peaceful coexistence that also offered opportunity. And he believes at one point that it will happen.
Was that not perfect? Teddy Roosevelt?
Yeah.
Speak softly and carry a big stick.
Well, because you have to, you're trying to build a consensus. It's, there are a couple of things that you have to do as a leader of a nation when it comes to war, is you have to build a consensus and the political will from your own people. But there has to be an appeal, and this has been going on for a long time. There's propaganda is nothing new, but this goes far beyond propaganda. Again, if you know anything about the history, even just the recent history of the Middle East. And that's why those words were chosen for a reason. The way that he delivered that was a choice, and I think a very good choice, because he's not just telling the people of Iran, he's also telling the rest of the world. If not for Iranian leadership, there would be peace.
Yeah.
And
Iran, and by the way, Iran has a tremendous amount of potential too.
It's amazing to think about. If you think about what it could be, there's a lot of back and forth with the concerns of Saudi Arabia, and there are many. But if overall you look at cultures in other parts of the world, if redefined under the thought and ultimate goal of having greater democracy, giving people greater choices in their lives, the potential is through the roof of what Iran as a nation could achieve. And the people of Iran have to want that. It's impossible for me to believe otherwise.
Well, we know the Crown Prince and, killing of the reporter, which has gotten in the way of so many things. But you think about the Abraham Accords, where the Arab-Israeli, normalization agreement signed between the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain back in 2020. And, the next thing is, it's like, and I think even Israel and Saudi Arabia may be pushing for it, is to normalize relations between those two, which would be huge. And by the way, Trump did the Abraham Accords that nobody thought could happen. And he did it. It's like, you're seeing, and I don't know because by the way, the Mossad is everywhere. Did you see that there was that organization put together? Was it Hezbollah, I think, that put together an organization just to target and kill Israelis, and the head of that organization was part of the Mossad?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, my God.
Yeah.
But the fact is, what he's letting him know is, look, we can get you and make your life hell, or basically you can revolt, because that's what Iran's not going to change unless there's massive revolting in that country. But that's tough to do when you don't have the power and you have a government that will absolutely, kill you for getting out of line in any way. And that's the problem over there. But I thought when I saw Netanyahu's speech, I thought about my old friend Ahmed and Parissa from Iran. I just remember Ahmed telling me he was just, I said, why do you do all these charities? Because he was old at that time. He probably was 75 when I met him. And I probably met him maybe 70, 75, but, he was definitely elderly, didn't move fast. I said, why do you do all this? You spend all this energy doing this. He said, because I'm in the United States, and I'm so grateful to be here. I just want to help everybody I can possibly help. All he did was work at charities because he was retired. All he did. And headed all these charities and dinners and fundraisers to help the local community that he was in. And that's, I thought about how many Iranians like that exist in Iran that weren't able to get out and want to hear the fact that, okay, this is reality. Because reality is the United States isn't looking to take over any country. Neither is Israel.
Israel has a much greater interest in a peaceful Middle East than they do going after being at war all the time. I mean, look, you look at one thing that he mentioned, innovation. Innovation goes throughout many different industries, and it's not exclusive to the United States or other, parts of the world. There is great innovation. There are great minds, as he mentioned, in the Middle East. And when it comes to innovation, that their potential for the expansion of wealth for their region isn't limited at all if you talk a peaceful Middle East.
And don't also forget, Sudan also signed the Abraham Accords declaration, as did Morocco with Israel.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they were on the right path, and Trump put them on the right path.
Yep.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up following the top of the hour, probably one of the best observations of Tim Walz ever. Well, I mean, ever. It's a short period of time, but over just the last couple of months. But it's just, it comes from the perspective of the fact of the Democratic Party being obsessed with identity politics and judging people as a group and not as an individual. So we will get to that. And also Pete Rose passed away yesterday, was 83.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was that old. I just always thought he was in late 70s or something. But,
Yeah, right.
We'll have a couple of comments on that coming up.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Thank you for being here. It is Debate Tuesday.
Yay!
The final debate, the final debate of this election season, and J.D. Vance against Mr. Walz.
Yeah.
And before I read this, because this is some of the best paragraphs of writing analyzing what's going on with Walz that I've seen out there. And you know something? I've never been a good writer. I guess I could be if I wanted, if I said, but I never wanted to be a writer.
Yeah.
I just
right.
never, I've no interest in writing at all. But I absolutely find great writing some of the most entertaining things that you can find in the media if people are great writers. And this is Michael Brendan Doherty from National Review. Ready? Just the words, how he puts together the words is just pure greatness. In a pre-debate expectations lowering piece on CNN, that wasn't even the good part.
No, I love the setup. Right. That's some comedian said it the other night. Man, if you're laughing that hard at the setup, I'm just going to do setups all night. I think it was an old Brian Regan, but yeah.
In a pre-debate expectations lowering piece from CNN, a senior Harris campaign aide said of Walz, people assume that he is a walking permission structure for rural ex-urban white male hunters. Yes, for the 1 or 2 points of those we want to move, but it's much deeper than that. He's a walking permission structure for people to feel joyful and hopeful themselves. End of quote from the senior campaign aide for Harris. Now, we just have to analyze that for a second. Mm-hmm. What the hell does that even mean?
I don't know.
It's not just Harris and Walz. It's the campaign people. This is what Democrats have become. Talking about the debate. You know, what is Walz? Well, as a campaign aide, let me tell you, people assume that he's a walking permission structure for rural ex-urban white male hunters. Yes, for the 1 or 2 points of those we want to move, but it's much deeper than that. He's a walking permission structure for people to feel joyful and hopeful themselves. What the hell are you going to do for me? I could care less about that.
Well,
that's what the average person would say, right?
I've never heard anyone go, you know what? I wasn't going to feel joyful, but I really got permission from Tim Walz to feel joyful now. So,
well, that's our word for the week. Walz is a permission structure. Democrats have now given us permission structures.
It's okay to feel joyful. Not too much. We didn't say happy. We said joyful. Calm down.
Okay, what permission structures can we give to our listeners?
What the hell's a permission structure? What is that? What is? You're just making it up. The answer is yes, you could be a writer because you just make the crap up. Permission structure. What?
That's what we needed. I didn't need somebody to get the job done. I needed a permission structure.
Yeah.
How stupid am I?
Oh, my gosh. You know, it's like, you know what it is? Since we're in October, we'll go to Halloween early. It's like that person on Halloween that decides they're going to make some kind of treat and hand it out, and people are going to love it. I'll just make it up. I'll just make it. Oh, and then you have to explain to them what it is. It's just, it really is the world we live in today. Someone in their mind. Okay.
Now, remember, he didn't write that.
I know.
His writing's still coming up.
Yeah.
Right. That's the
right.
Harris campaign.
Yeah, right.
Said that, right.
Someone just blurted out permission structure. Oh, that's good. So you look at the two things you had happen in that meeting. Someone said permission structure out loud as if it meant something, and then someone backed it up. Oh, yeah, I like that. Go with that. Wow.
All right, so let me read that again, then continue. Okay. The the Harris campaign aide said of Walz, people assume that he's a walking permission structure for rural ex-urban white male hunters. Yes, for the 1 or 2 points of those that we want to move to our side, but it's much deeper than that. He's a walking permission structure for people to feel joyful and hopeful themselves. Then, Michael writes, the progressive left is well aware that it has a theory of history and privilege that presents problems for them with white men. If you cast all present-day white men as possessing the semi-demonic impulse to oppress and as the witless inheritors of unearned privilege that came with oppression, such that even their non-white friends and acquaintances can be found guilty of being too white adjacent, it must disincline some of white men from voting to empower progressives even more. That whole moral story sounds as if the only use for white men is to dispossess them from their illusions, their privileges, and any resources let they, in Biden's words, put y'all back in chains. That's a quote.
No.
Walz as a permission structure makes kind of sense. It's an admission that white men can now have a role in multiculturalism.
Oh.
Not a great one. They can be a white dude, a kind of harmless supporting ally. His hobbies, whether hunting or following professional sports, serve only to make him into a more blobby caricature of himself. He doesn't have ideas of his own. He doesn't aspire to lead, only to listen, to follow, not support. Maybe he wears a "My Daughter is My Hero" T-shirt, not because he has a child who survived something traumatic, but because his worldly wise wife bought it for him. That's great writing.
It was a Father's Day gift.
Walz has routinely deployed a kind of sitcom-level white dad cluelessness, like when he said, "Hey, I have white guy tacos," and Walz said in a video when Harris interrupted and said, "What does that mean, like mayonnaise and tuna?" Ha 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 ha. No, it turns out he just likes ground beef and cheese. Why, that poor unfortunate white soul. Oh my gosh, this is just
I love it.
This is just great. Conservatives and progressives respond differently to dog breed descriptions. Progressives report liking breeds that are friendly to everyone. Conservatives are drawn to breeds that look to their owners for cues about the status of strangers. Something similar is at work in the response to white dudes. Walz's "I'm harmless fun" act is a kind of ritual of neighborliness among progressives. Among conservatives, it reads as a symbolic inversion of male roles. Wow.
Wow.
Is Walz a kind of model man of the multicultural future? Progressives have bet a little bit too much on the proposition. But that's the same thing. Oh, by the way, she got, what's her name, got mocked like crazy yesterday. Jen Psaki.
Oh, yeah.
I heard her whole thing about, you know, when she did the whole Walz thing.
Yeah.
That's why they're focused on it. Because you're sitting there and go, what the hell does it do for election? Because most people think, who's going to do my bidding? I'm not looking for somebody to be my permission structure.
Yeah.
I mean, this is how, and by the way, this is what they talk about, and Trump and Vance are weird.
Yeah. Yeah. No, this is exactly the language they use. You know, this is because it doesn't have to, they believe it doesn't have to mean anything. Permission structure needs to just sound smarter than you. That's all. Well, a permission structure. It's one of the words that really, it's just one of my pet peeves. Repurpose. We're going to repurpose. You mean reuse it? Is that what you mean? Repurpose. We're going to repurpose. And it became a thing. This is what liberals do. They start down this road of creating their own language. And next thing you know, they're putting words together like permission structure. How about you start with sentence structure? I mean, where did you go to school? Oh, wait, one of those universities. Oh,
Well,
okay.
We always talked about this. I mean, you lived around, but for a significant period of your life, you lived on the southern border.
Mm-hmm.
I lived on the northern border.
Mm-hmm.
Yet, the way that we process thoughts is pretty near identical.
Mm-hmm.
And when we met each other, we knew it in the first week.
Right.
After a week, we were like, do we have something here?
Right.
We just knew it. It fit. And then
And it's not generational because you're much, much, much older than I am.
Shut up. I heard laughter over the other rug, and laughter went right through the wall. Did you like that? Shut up. I can see my mother. Gary, don't tell Eric to shut up now. I didn't, Mom. I said, shut up.
Yeah, exactly.
I could hear my late mom saying that to me. No, she would laugh. She would get it. You just wonder what kind of environment, to say that because it's not just Harris, it's not just Walz, it's the campaign.
Oh yeah,
it's it's the way Biden explains things. It's and Democrats used to talk more normal.
Well, that's
and
the thing.
Now they've got into this stuff. Identity politics has creeped in so much where it's actually tainted the language that they use, the thought process of what benefit they can have to the world. Could you imagine ever thinking that you could be what do they call it again? The status? What is it again? Oh. Could you imagine ever thinking, I am a permission structure for someone else? Yeah. Imagine that somebody ever... that's my father would go, by the way, that term, Gary, don't ever use that again. Why, Dad? That's BS. Dad would tell that to me. That's BS. Because that's what it is. And they're promoting him. Imagine if a campaign aide came, why should you vote for Eric? And it'd be like, because Eric's going to do this, and this. Because Eric is your permission structure to be a white male hunter and also the permission structure to feel joy. Oh, what the hell are you talking about? Get out of my face, you loser.
Part of the problem of the left? They've cornered themselves in what they can't say. Because you can't say role model anymore. So they came up with permission structure. You mean role model? No. Yeah, you do. No. Yeah, And that's the problem that they have. It feels like sometimes the Democratic Party, the party itself, the Democratic National Committee, has just handed Harris and Walz the keys saying, hey, would y'all just lock up when you're done? Because it does not at all resemble any kind of campaign structure that I have ever seen in my life.
Do you need a permission structure to have a campaign structure?
Right. Permission structure. That sounds like something you go to City Hall and get a permit for. I'm here to we're going to build a permission structure on my property.
What do you mean? It's something I expect to hear from my homeowners association.
Yes.
Do you have a permission structure for that?
Yes. Listen, it's right here. You need a permission structure. My gosh. And it really is about cornering themselves because you can't say certain things anymore. You can't say male role model. You have to say permission structure.
Because a permission structure is to accept him as a lesser male.
Yes.
As a male that doesn't have an opinion.
Exactly.
A male that is a follower, not a leader.
Right.
This is the new type of male.
Right. Man. Don't ask me to cuddle up with a good book because I'm not doing it.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Just amazing, though, isn't it? I mean, good God.
Yeah, it's
permission structure is what Tim Walz is just.
Well, it's again, and then you step away, you step back and say, well, who's buying this crap that they're trying to sell? Who's buying it? When Evan Thomas talked about Obama, he hovers like a god. He's above all of this. We laughed But there were liberals out there going, uh-huh. I don't think anyone is going, yeah, you know what? Tim Walz is the permission structure that I needed in my life. Nobody's saying that. I mean, one of the problems Hollywood has is whatever they're producing, a TV show or a movie, often doesn't have its own identity. It doesn't know what it is. So it kind of goes all over the place and then falls apart. It's really hard to watch, but that's exactly what this campaign is. They don't know what they are. They don't know what they're trying to be.
You know, I think it is also, it's a shot at conservative relationships. They're trying to make the case, because remember, Walz is the new kind of man, and he talked about it with Jen Psaki. Well, I've always been supportive of my wife. What they're trying to say is this is the new kind of man that conservatives can't be. It's okay if you want to be it because you can be, and you can be supportive of your wife as if conservative men marry wimpy women.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And that conservative women are just subservient to their man.
Right.
Well, I'm telling you, I know a ton of conservative women, and I don't know one that doesn't fit, not one that doesn't fit the type of person that I completely and totally admire as a man.
Well, I'll tell you, when in our early years, I said to my wife, it's my way or the highway. And I was thinking while I was driving down the highway right after saying that was probably not the right move.
But that's the other shot, like, we're the ones. Our men actually will serve
exactly
a woman.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Well, the news out yesterday that Pete Rose died, 83 years of age.
Yeah.
I didn't see any cause of death as of an hour ago, at least when I last checked the headlines.
Right, yeah.
Probably nobody will break his record for number of games played. I mean, the number of games played was just amazing. Probably you can make the argument one of the greatest baseball players ever.
Yeah, for sure.
Just ever. Who had a gambling problem.
Right. Yeah.
A lot of people, for years. It's funny because the whole gambling thing came up in 89, just a couple of months before I became a talk show host. And I remember, I'm like, oh, my gosh, people have been talking about this now for 35 years.
Right. Yeah.
Whether he should be, put into the Hall of Fame.
Right.
Here's the problem, why he wasn't. He said he never gambled until he wrote his book in the late 90s.
Right.
So 10 years basically went by where he said, I didn't do it. Then he came out and said, yeah, I did do it, but I never bet against my team.
Right.
That's why he's not in the Hall of Fame now.
Right.
Because
otherwise you look at his numbers.
Right. Because, and if you lie, they might, when you lied once and then you came, because they're afraid you're lying again. When you said that you didn't bet.
Right.
That you didn't bet against your own team. Mm-hmm. And so that just, whether you did or not, doesn't matter. It's the perception of it at that point. Now in the day and age, there is a legit point in this day and age where all sports now promotes and endorses gambling.
Yeah.
That he should get in, and that's up to Major League Baseball.
Right. Yeah.
And since a lot of the Major League teams are guaranteed to do the wrong thing to turn off fans, they may continue because gambling isn't viewed. It's not viewed in the same way at all by the sports leagues.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. He was actually at a autograph signing event in Tennessee this past weekend. And according to reports, there's still no word on cause of death here. But he had made an appearance over the weekend, according to reports, an autograph event in Franklin, Tennessee. I think they said it was on Sunday, 29th. So, but when you look at his numbers, by the numbers, he belongs there. But, the problem is, as you mentioned, you go for so long denying. It may be different had he admitted to it from the beginning. Maybe. I can't say for sure.
He would have been out. I mean, he would have.
No, he definitely.
He would have.
Yeah, he definitely would have been done. But
I know he would have been. He was done with playing already at that point.
Yeah.
But he would have been. He would not have been in the Hall of Fame for a while.
Right.
But whether it would have lasted 35 years.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Especially when they've embraced gambling.
Sports gambling now is. Sports gambling is sponsoring games and podcasts and everything else. So they've made it legal. I understand there's still rules, of course, for the athletes, but it's a different take than it was before.
Yeah.
Different mindset. It used to be kind of in the hidden kind of thing, even though Vegas bookies were legitimate. It wasn't what it is today, more socially acceptable than it's ever been. But, yeah, Pete Rose, dead at the age of 83.
The one picture of him sliding into base where he's like in the air.
Looks like he's flying, the Superman thing.
That's probably one of the best.
Yeah.
One of the best. You think of best sports pictures ever.
Right.
That and it's funny because the other one that comes to my mind as great sports pictures, everybody's the greatest sports pictures, you have to sort of be flying. The Bobby Orr, if you ever seen the Bobby Orr hockey one, where he's in the air, he's parallel to the ice, like in the air as the goal goes in, I think, to win the Stanley Cup.
Right. Yeah.
And he's higher off the ground than Pete Rose, but you look at it when you look at pictures alone. And I saw a great description of him. Said most people that are great baseball players are baseball players. Pete Rose was a great football player who played baseball because he was just so intense and so physical in everything that he did. And it was a joy to watch him.
Yeah.
You ever watch? I'm old enough where I was able to actually watch him, play. So, and it's sad. He blew a ton of money on gambling. It's sad about that. He didn't. Again, people make their own choices.
Sure.
In life, but he could have lived an easier life.
Yeah.
But who am I to judge?
And then Dikembe
I'm a
Mutombo.
talk show host. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah. Dead at the age of 58. Yeah. Diagnosed with a brain tumor a couple of years ago. Dying of brain cancer. 58's young. I'm 58. And you think about a giant in so many ways. For Denver, for Houston, 7'2". I have a friend who does special cargo, what they call specialized cargo. A lot of it is hauling celebrity cars. And he told me one time, yeah, I just hauled, I think it was Shaquille O'Neal's car from L.A. to New York. Well, why didn't he just rent a car? Oh, wait a minute. You can't just fit in any car when you're that big. You got to have your car if you're going to drive. Even a limo would be tough for you to get in and out of. 7'2". That's incredible. His brother was 6'10", and still not the tallest sibling. That's
his brother.
That's wild.
His brother Shorty.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah, that was sad. I always enjoyed watching him play. Basketball.
I heard more about him, when he was in Houston because I'm here in Texas, But I mean, he was one of those that kind of rose above the sport, He stood above the sport, literally and figuratively. And then, of course, his charity work.
But you think about it,
after,
you're that tall,
mm-hmm.
it really is tough to stay anonymous in any type of way. You really can't put on a hat. You're so tall that
you can't just blend in.
Yeah,
the hat and sunglasses. Can't. That's not going to do it.
And you're playing basket. Not everybody plays basketball to be a celebrity,
right?
And it's part of what comes with the business. It's like this, but if I know that you and I've talked about this, I never did this to be any type of celebrity. Which when I work days, you're much more recognizable, especially when, and I've talked about this before, when your station or the media outlet you work for does a ton of television that they used to do that I've got done for me. There were places where I couldn't go. And because you're controversial, you really can't go. You sort of learn to stay out of bars. And if you go into a bar and somebody picks a fight, you turn around and you walk out because you can't win. But just everything, you're that tall. I mean, airplane, flying in an airplane, in an automobile, no matter where you go, you're recognized. I don't think I would ever want to get to the level of having to have security. There was did you see the thing? It was on YouTube or maybe Instagram of Bill Gates just walking around New York, just standing there. And it was like, is he there alone? And then all of a sudden you could see people with the earpieces on in suits. His security was around him, but sort of let him be but people were, on the New York streets stopping, going, there he is right there. And he's just standing at a storefront looking in the window. And you can see people and you can reflection, people pointing at him and everything else. I'm like, I would hate that.
Yeah.
I would hate to have maids and servants. You're in my space. I don't want people.
Right.
Well, no, I make your meals. I can make my own damn sandwich.
Yeah.
No, that would be a problem for me. And that's the one greatest thing. I'll never forget an old girlfriend of mine when I got this job and everything else. And you and I were doing great. And she shook her head, looked at me and said, you got exactly what you want. And I said, what? She said, you got a great national radio show with millions of listeners, and you still have a lot of anonymity. And I went, oh my God, you do know me. You do.
Yeah.
Because I like the process. I like doing this part right here. I like doing the show prep. You and I talk about it all the time, how we just never stop. I like the process of doing everything. When I worked during the days and the celebrity was there because you were out doing a bunch of functions, it was okay. I mean, especially talk radio listeners, because they're not looking at you. They don't like you for something superficial. Oh, you sing good. It's like, oh, I like what's in your mind. Or they don't like what's in your mind. But that was a lot better celebrity to deal with when people are talking about your mind. Even if they tell you, I think you suck, because you can say, why? Explain why. So you can still win that argument when they can't explain why.
Yeah, and then you talk about global CEOs and everything else. They have also a responsibility not just for their own safety, but because they run a company. If it's,
Yeah.
They've got tons of employees, if it's a large company, their security actually is paramount. I wouldn't want to have to live that way.
No, neither would I.
The guy that won the, they call it the $1 billion lottery. That wasn't how much he collected, but the $1 billion Powerball or whatever he won. And he didn't collect it anonymously. He bought a 2-seater Porsche, and he can't take any friends with him because he has round-the-clock security, a personal bodyguard
I remember that. Yeah.
close to him all the time. He has 3, and they work in 8-hour shifts. So that other seat is occupied by security. And
No.
by the way, that was a choice. He didn't have to do that. He could have collected that money anonymously, but he didn't. And now he's famously wealthy, and that's dangerous. That becomes especially dangerous. And I wouldn't want that at all.
No,
Nope.
I wouldn't want that
Nope.
at all. And then the actor from Beverly Hills Cop, John Ashton.
Ashton, who passed away, they did the sequel that ended up on Netflix, which is pretty good. And he was great. He was great in that. That was kind of one of those stereotyping roles. He was kind of stereotyped into that role from Beverly Hills Cop, but Ashton was, by all accounts, a great guy and certainly was great in that role.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Coming up next, following the top of the hour, what are both sides looking for here in this debate tonight? What do they expect to happen? We've got what Trump thinks and what the Trump campaign believes is going to happen, and also what Democrats believe. Democrats are trying to, they keep saying, lower expectations. They're lowering expectations. The crazy Democrat, Claire McCaskill, you have to understand the ad she run in 2018 to understand. We're just not calling her crazy for the sake of calling her crazy. She ran the ads where the two characters said she wasn't a crazy Democrat. We now know that she is.
Right.
But she said, we have to lower expectations for Walz, who had high expectations.
Exactly. Lower them from what?
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. I'm Gary McNamara. He is Eric Harley. Good morning.
Good morning. Hello. Welcome. Everyone take a seat.
Before we get to some pre-debate chat,
Yeah.
Gavin Newsom signs a bill barring local authorities from requiring voter ID. California Governor Gavin Newsom signed a bill Sunday that will bar local authorities from requiring photo IDs to vote, which exceeds the state's requirements. California is one of 14 Democrat-run states that do not require any ID to vote, despite requiring it for many other purposes. Voters at polling places are checked off against voter rolls without further proof being required. When you look at voter ID, I think it's roughly, you look at, it doesn't matter what demographic you're in. I think everybody's over 75% of the American public wants it. I mean, It's like around 80%. It's unbelievable, the support for voter ID.
Mm-hmm.
Just to everybody understand how radical Gavin Newsom is and how incredibly radical and bluntly wishing to invite and promote fraud in California elections.
Right.
Because the only reason you don't want voter ID is you hope to have fraud because you believe that you can't win elections. And there's many elections where there are Republican districts there.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't want it in even local elections because you're hoping for more fraud.
Yep.
There's no other reason. And the American public knows it. By mega landslide numbers, they know it.
Yep. Yeah, they do. And it's, again, one of the luxuries of being a governor inside that big blue bubble is that you get away with it because you don't have enough conservatives in your state. We know there are some. So you're looking to control everything that you can about elections by making it wide open. You don't care anything about fraud. If you get to the point where you make it unlawful for localities to require voter ID, you're inviting the fraud. And my question would be, okay, well then where do you draw the line? When it comes to election integrity, where do you draw the line?
Well, there it is. I got my new one in the mail this afternoon. My new license. In the last month, I got a new passport, I got a new license, and I got TSA pre-check.
Looking to leave the country, are you?
Well,
are you out?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm looking to leave if she wins. I'm trying to think, where would I go? Not going to Canada.
You could leave the country and go to California.
I'm leaving the country. I'm going back to where I used to live, Portland.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody in Portland, listening on our great affiliate, KXL.
Yeah, it is a much different sentiment nationally in terms of what people believe on voter ID than where it was years ago. And Newsom and the Democrats in his state are acting as if we're still living in that time when you could get away with saying it's racist to require people to have an ID to vote. The overwhelming majority of people don't believe that at all. In fact, the fact that now all these major blue cities have become border towns has made people even probably more favorable to voter ID requirements. They're looking at their local elections thinking, well, wait a minute, what would keep somebody who's here from another country from voting?
The reason I brought up my license and my passport and my TSA pre-check is because I had to prove without question who I was, somebody who has been living in this country, born and raised here with a work history going back, what is it now? Almost 50 years? Yeah. work history going back over 50 years. 50 years since I, since I got my license. 53 years since I got my first driver's license.
Mm-hmm.
I have an electronic, what would you call it? An electronic, there's an electronic map of who I am.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can sit
Let's
there.
just say you have a long rap sheet.
No. I've been around. I've had licenses in different states. This isn't the first, passport. I renewed my passport, even though I let it lapse for 5 years. I've had passports before, and still, with all that electronic trail that I have, which proves without question who I am, I had to go for every single one of these things. I had to go all over again and make sure I had my birth certificate, everything to prove that I was a citizen of the United States to get all those three.
Mm-hmm. If it's racist in California to require somebody to have an ID to vote, then it's racist for the state of California to have any law that requires them to have a photo ID
right,
for any reason.
Right. Any benefits, anything. Doesn't matter.
Do away with the entire ID system.
Right.
If you believe it's racist, then it's racist for everything, because you don't vote every day, but you have to go out and conduct business every day. Well, the state then, if they're really gonna put their money to this, then go ahead, outlaw the requirement for official ID for anything and everything in that state.
And
let's see what the public thinks about that.
A photo ID required to buy Sudafed.
Mm-hmm.
Photo ID required to buy alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
And
don't get me started about buying Sudafed and alcohol. And don't ask. It's none of your business.
It's like,
I had a cold.
It's like the time I went into a store that sold everything, and I got pool acid and Sudafed.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
yeah.
Beep, 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 beep,
Yeah.
beep, beep.
We have a meth manufacturer here.
Exactly. It's like, well, why do I need, why they go, well, I remember what it was. I knew I was going to get flagged for both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I go to the pool store, they don't make me do it. But this wasn't a pool. If I get the acid that you need to keep the pH right in your pool.
Mm-hmm.
And I really don't use the Sudafed anymore because they've got the new stuff. That
right.
I don't know if you need to get a license for that. No, you don't. I don't think you need ID for the new stuff, the non-drowsy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I got Sudafed and the acid, and it was like beep, beep, beep. And she came up, she goes, I have no idea why. And I said, because it thinks I'm a meth dealer. She goes, what? I go, yeah, the ingredients of both of these are in meth. But think about that. Now, I'm only buying a gallon of acid and a pack of Sudafed. I can't make whatever meth I could make out of that is not going to be a great deal.
Yeah.
And
it's not going to be, definitely not going to be the good quality meth that all the kids are raving about.
Well, we're going to do a taste test on that next weekend. Show up at my house, will you, please?
Yeah.
But had to show ID, ID for that. You have to show ID for everything, but not for voting. The only reason the Democrats, just like the Democratic Party, is becoming pro-terrorist, they're also pro-fraud in elections.
Yep.
They want fraud in elections. They invite fraud in elections. That's why Newsom is doing it. There's no other reason. We remember when Warnock in Georgia,
mm-hmm.
when everything was about voter ID being racist. When he ran last time, somebody asked him about it. He goes, well, I've never been for voter ID.
I don't even know anybody.
Yeah. I don't even know anybody who's against voter ID.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because he knows what the polls say.
Yep.
And it was so close that the differences between demographics, whether you're black, white, man, woman, doesn't matter. It was the same. It was roughly 75 to 80%. Everything was within the margin of error with each other.
Well, this is a debate, in fact, a political debate that was put to bed years ago, which is why Warnock had to say what he said a few years ago.
Yeah.
Because it was over for the Democrats. That's not one that they actually came away with a victory on. Yet this move in California puts it back in play. Great. Then outlaw the requirement for ID for anything. Because if it's bigoted to require it, if it's wrong and racist, then it should be wrong to require it for anything. You don't vote every day, but you need an ID quite possibly every day for conducting simple business. And that's racist. End it.
Go
about
ahead. If I happen to have a tail light go out, I get pulled over by law enforcement who then wants what? My official identification.
Well, first they ask you to put the alcohol down, but yes.
Well, yeah,
then
put
they
the beer
ask you
down.
for
Yeah, okay.
identification. First things first. Is that a beer you're holding? Why? Do you want one?
Jeez. I always think about when I drive to work because I just woke up. I'm always thinking if a cop pulls me over.
I've had it happen. The first thing he asked me, "You been drinking?" I said, "No. I just woke up. I'm going to work."
I always think that on the way back from work, I'm wide awake.
Yeah.
But then as I get nearer home and rest, I'm ready to go to sleep.
Oh, well.
When I come in especially this time of the year,
Right.
my allergies are just killing me.
Well, one day,
Oh my gosh.
I went in to get my haircut, Law Enforcement Appreciation Day, right? 2 state troopers are in there. It's me. Here's the customer base when I walk in. Me and 2 state troopers. They're each in different chairs. I go to my chair, and then I'm like, you know what? This is a chance to show my appreciation. We're all 3 walking up to the counter at the same time. And so I thought I told the young lady I'd like to pay for their haircuts. And they were like, "Oh, thank you." I think law enforcement appreciation just would say, "Thank you for being out there," that kind of thing. Well, I'm feeling all good about myself. I'm a hero and whatnot. And so I go out and I get in my car and I go to, check my haircut. First thing I do. And I look, and my eyes are about as red as they could possibly be because I had spent the morning mowing my lawn. And the days that I mow my lawn, I come away looking like one of the heavy stoners from the Cheech and Chong movies. Not Cheech and Chong, one of the real stoners. And I thought to myself, they probably thought I was trying to bribe them into not searching my car.
When it's always, because you go to I go to sleep and then wake up before I come into the show, but I wake up at 10 o'clock. Mm-hmm. Jump in the shower. Boom, I'm out by 20 after 10. I'm out. Mm-hmm. And a few times I've looked at myself. I go, "Oh my God, I look like I'm high. I'm high and drunk. And my eyes are all like
eye drops are a must.
Oh, because it's I have ragweed pollen so bad, which is bad right now at this time of the year. Mm-hmm. When I was a kid, I used to wear a pollen mask when I went to sleep at night as a kid to keep the pollen out. Because now I don't have it as bad today, but my eyes still, it's just like everything gets droopy on your face. And I look at myself, and that's the thing, when you look at yourself and you're sober and your mind is sober and you're sober and you look at yourself, you say, "I look high and drunk."
Well, that's the thing.
That's my natural look.
Forget drinking. I'm just trying hard to look sober, and I'm always sober.
Right.
I need to try harder.
See, that's a tough part of getting old and having allergies.
Right. Try not to look stoned.
It's a struggle not to look wasted when you're sober.
Yeah.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at J.J. Keller. and I'm here to share a tip on speed and space management. When driving, you need to manage the space around your vehicle so that there's enough space to allow you to adjust when traffic conditions change. The space ahead of your vehicle is the most important and one of the easiest to monitor and adjust as needed. One rule of thumb is to allow at least 1 second for each 10 feet of vehicle length at speeds below 40 miles per hour. At greater speeds, add an additional second. It's impossible to keep other drivers from tailgating you, but there are some things you can do to make it safer, such as increasing your following distance, avoiding quick lane changes, and slowing down. There are also several things you should do to ensure that there is plenty of space between the side of your vehicle and other vehicles. Don't hug the center line, avoid hugging the right side of the road, and avoid traveling alongside other vehicles in strong winds, especially crosswinds. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller and Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
Red Eye Radio, he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Yeah, so when I talked about in the last month getting my new driver's license and then getting my passport and then getting TSA pre-check, I mean, I needed everything. You know, I had to make sure that I could completely not just prove I was a citizen of the United States, you know, born here with a birth certificate, but make sure I had utility bills and everything else to prove who I was.
Yep.
You know, and so, you know, Social Security number and all this. And so when you see what's happening in California, where the Newsom says, oh, no, we don't, no ID needed to vote, you realize that they really want fraud. They really do. Think about it. A political party that wants fraud in election and is blunt about it, because the message is clear. It's not like you have a 50-50 nation on people wanting ID. It's
right.
Landslide numbers.
Right.
It's around 80%. And it doesn't matter what demographic it is. Everyone is around 75 to 80%. They all know it. They don't view it as racist. Minorities don't view it as racist.
No, they don't.
And so it's only the excuse that they give. And then when the heat gets on, as we saw with Senator Warnock in Georgia, I've never been against photo ID. I don't know anybody who is. It's like, stop it.
Yeah. It is not, it again was not even a debate anymore. It was one the books were closed on. I suspect there are a number of things going on here again in California. They clearly want to keep fraud in play. The Democrats believe they need to keep fraud in play. And on top of that, I think there's probably then the virtue signaling when it came to not being able to get reparations done, right? Mm-hmm. Well, we'll do this instead. And it's going to go nowhere. It hopefully will be challenged in court. I guess we'll see.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning and welcome. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose. All right, you ready for this?
All right, what do you got?
Let's go to the crazy Democrat, Claire McCaskill, former senator from Missouri. Now, we're not just name calling.
No, we're going to do that later.
Right. She is the one that stated in a commercial when she was running against Josh Hawley that she is not a crazy Democrat. She has let us know afterwards, so with her many of her statements, said she is one of the crazy Democrats. Mm-hmm. So she was lying in that ad.
Yeah.
But that was a desperation ad where she knew she was down, and she knew that, you know, as we had said at the time when they put together the ad, we said, well, they're hearing that. They're hearing you're a crazy Democrat. We can't vote for you. So she had to put on an ad saying she's not one of the crazy Democrats. But here she is about the debate and Walz.
Okay, dive in, the debate. What's your advice?
I'm just a little worried about the expectations game at this point. I think people, yes, J.D. Vance has said some really, I think, disqualifying things about women and how he views people and their role in life. But he will be articulate and he will be prepared and he will be better than Trump was. And I think it's really going to be a challenge for Tim Walz to be able to counter what he is going to bring, at the same time stay really likable and relatable, and then also instill confidence in the American people that he's the better one to be in the wings in case something were to happen to the president. So I just think we need to lower expectations a little bit, because then we can all be pleasantly surprised if I'm wrong and that Tim Walz just mops the floor with him the same way Kamala Harris mopped the floor with Donald Trump.
Okay, dive in.
Right. Yeah, just the same way. The exact same way. Uh-huh.
But lowering expectations.
From what?
From who has these over-the-top expectations. Have you heard anybody out there saying, Walz is going to kill him?
Well, and the surrogate media, isn't it their job to say, look, I think everybody's going to be blown away by how he performs. She tried to do that in the end, maybe realizing what she had stepped in her own making. Oh, we should lower our expectations, I don't think he represents a permission structure on expectations. I don't think we look for him to really be that. He's not that kind of role model. Yeah, it really is getting desperate. The media doesn't have any way to depict them anymore. They really don't. They don't know where to go on this. They don't know what to do with Tim Walz or with Kamala Harris. How do they go another month?
Remember, well, they're going to have the advantage because it's going to be such a short time. And now they're probably going, God, this thing's going on forever.
Why is it taking so long? It's taking so long.
The public is sort of figuring out who we are.
Yeah.
But it's, before we get to what the Trump campaign is saying, and I mentioned it earlier, but I mean, it's just a couple of things over the last 36 hours. You would think from even the media, CNN covering it, and I use CNN because they're not a conservative media outlet, and they're making it clear, my God, Trump looks presidential. Trump's out there. One would think he's the president of the United States because of how he is down there in North Carolina and other areas that got hit by, Helene, and he's doing a great job. He's bringing things in, and he doesn't have the power of the federal government to bring it in. And I know that yesterday when I was watching it for a second, I'm watching going, oh, yeah, Trump's down there and talking to FEMA authorities and I realized he's talking to the federal government. I'm like, wait a minute. He's not president. Oh, my God. This looks horrible. Right. And then you have, Biden. You saw when he was walking out, someone screamed, why were you there? Why weren't you here? Have you heard of a phone? Phone. Yeah. We're wrong with a phone.
Right.
And then somebody screamed out, he just walked right out the door, but he's turned around and walked away. She speaks to FEMA for 5 minutes, turns around and walks right out, takes no questions. There's Trump down there talking to everybody he possibly can, bringing the tanker of gas, bringing more, bringing supplies down to different people just as a show of, look, we know we can't do anything, but we're here to just, support who you are, what's going on, what are the problems, whatever. My God, he looked presidential. And you know what they look like? They look like almost like I did when I went to school and I had to do my homework and I had to pay attention in class, but you could tell I really didn't want to be doing this. Like I was forced to be there. And that's what it seems like. It's almost as if Biden and Harris are forced to be there. And okay, I guess since Trump's going down there, we have to go down there too. Happened with the Ohio train derailment with Biden.
Yep.
He just couldn't go once Trump went.
Well, that's it. And now, that, again, defiant Joe Biden turning his back literally and figuratively on this country over and over again. And Kamala Harris is doing the exact same. She's running from the media while she's running for president. That's bizarre. Who runs from the media? Why are you in hiding? SNL missed an opportunity this weekend. It should have been Maya Rudolph kind of walking off camera and then just going over into the corner and then maybe hiding behind a curtain or something. It's like, Kamala, where'd you go? Kamala, anyone seen Kamala? That would have been funny because it would have also been one of those, it's funny because it's true moments. The images that come out now of anything in this presidential race are of Trump. I said it last week, and I really believe this is what's going on with the movement in the polls. I don't buy the polls to begin with. We'll see who's accurate, who's not after the election. But I think you're seeing right now in the swing states, I think you're seeing evidence that they know they're in trouble, in real trouble in the swing states, especially the Great Lakes states. They know they're in trouble. And I think right now they're desperate to save the down ballot. And that's where they're going to... What I'm wondering now is if their internals have shown this all along and they've told her, listen, you probably won't win because what's blocking you is these swing states right here that you're not going to win. So do everything you can to help us win or at least maintain the down ballot. I'm becoming more and more convinced that they've known all along she's got a weak chance. Because I don't buy this, it's neck and neck. Nope, she'll take California, she'll take New York, she'll take a number of states. But the fact of the matter, these swing states look more and more, and this is, I think, again, the indications that you see the demographic breakdown, but you don't have to look at anything else except the unions. Look at the union member support for Trump. That's bad news for Kamala Harris all day long. They're running from the media for a reason. She's not confident because she can't talk about what she really believes. She knows it's far too radical to talk even to the radical liberal activists in the media. You can't have those conversations and win the independent. And they know you have to do just that between now and Election Day. They've got another month of this, and she hasn't done a press conference yet. Think about that. That's unbelievable that she hasn't done a press conference yet. Think about all the things, what you bring up. Helene, the damage in Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, Tennessee, the flooding that you're seeing, the images coming out of there, they're heartbreaking. And those individuals want to know, because here's the difference. Here's what happens. After a community is devastated, and it's multiple communities, I mean, it's just unbelievable, the damage left in the wake of Helene. But what happens with the people of those communities, they want to know that they're going to have support from the government long after, because it's going to take years in some cases to rebuild everything, to try and get back to normal. They're looking for that's why they look for leaders to show up, demonstrate in some way that they care, that they understand what they're going through on that local level. Trump shows up, looks very presidential. Kamala's on a phone. Biden's on a phone and telling you that that's good enough. Well, what do you think's going to happen in those areas? Those people are devastated by this loss. It's catastrophic, and they're going to be dealing with it for a very, very long time. And they're going to need help. And you're looking at this now. You see this, the entire landscape of where we are in this election cycle, and it really is weird. When we get 5 to 10 years down and we look back at this, it's gonna be such a disbelief because we're in that state of disbelief now.
Yeah, we are, and a lot of people don't even recognize that they're in it because it's so bizarre that you have two candidates, the Democrats who are running from the media, and the media is defending them. The political activists are defending them and giving them excuses that they don't have to talk to the media because imagery is more important. I mean, that was Stelter's first night back on CNN, Brian Stelter. No, the image is more important than anything they have to say.
Oh, yeah.
That's amazing when you think about it. We've never dealt with that in all of American history.
Well, think about it. Think about the audio that you just played. Basically, already calling Tim Walz the winner. Basically, they'll come away victorious just like she did and blah, 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 blah. Look, here's the thing. With J.D. Vance and the debate tonight, I don't see any way to disarm J.D. Vance because he's already disarmed anything you could say about him. The activists that pose as moderators, whatever questions they throw at him, and it'll be, I guarantee you, at least one, if not multiple questions about how you criticize Trump. He's already disarmed that. I don't know how you disarm J.D. Vance in a debate setting. I haven't seen anything that tells me J.D. Vance will have a bad night.
No, I haven't seen that anywhere.
And I haven't seen anything that tells me that Tim Walz is going to be able to beat J.D. Vance by any definition of the word beat in a debate setting. I haven't seen any evidence that Tim Walz has anything on J.D. Vance in terms of any advantage on a debate stage. I've seen nothing like that. So I expect this to be at the very best for the Harris-Walz campaign. Tim Walz comes away not looking absolutely shredded. That's best case scenario in my books.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. What does the Trump campaign expect from the debate tonight from Walz? We'll tell you, because, the thing is, everything right now, if you look at it, everything right now, every single day, the Harris campaign is on the defensive. Every single day they're on the defensive. And even in this case, nobody's asking about how Vance will do. Everyone's asking about Walz. Mm-hmm. Why? He hasn't done anything.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.